Welcome to Sportsbet Daily at oddsmarket.com. It's UFC 159 in Mexico City. UFC means that I'm going to be joined with Dave and Jason. Lads, how are we?
What's up, Flash?
What's up, Flash? Everything's good, bro.
Yeah, let me just start. Just educate me a little bit. I watched that Uriah Hall and Carlos Jr. fight last week. By the way, am I wrong or are they both really, really good? Dave?
Yeah, they're both really good fighters, and that's why last week you'll notice that I pointed out the crazy odds making on that fight. I can't remember what the number was now, but it was definitely around plus 200 that we got Uriah Hall at. Ridiculous, Flash, ridiculous.
Jason, conflicting styles. One out-and-out boxer, hard puncher. One just wanted to get to the ground, and they both seem masters of their trade.
Well, that's what makes MMA great. The best fights are ultimate clashes of style, really. Two guys that are incredible at what they do, meeting in the cage and banging it out. Uriah Hall got the better of ACJ this time, and who knows, next time they fight again, he could get submitted. That's what's great about the sport.
Yeah, I think the other thing that came across was the class of the two gentlemen after the fight. I thought it was just absolutely top draw. Left their egos at the door, got it on, afterwards, had a kiss, made up, and I was expecting him to say, do you fancy going and having some food? I mean, there was absolute top draw gentlemen. Right, let's crack on. We've got 5 fights. Going to start with Yair Rodríguez and Jeremy Stephens. Jace, take it away.
Yeah, it's going to be a really entertaining fight. Whether you're a casual fan or you're like Dave and I that live for the sport, both Jeremy Stephens and Yair Rodríguez have lost more fights than they've won the last 2 of the last 3. Actually, Rodríguez is 2-1 his last 3, but one was really lucky. But the difference is Jeremy Stephens has been dropping fights to world-class competition, the best of the best. Most people know what Stephens is about. He's a brawler. He's an excellent striker, has incredible power in his hands, really solid hand speed, although it's slowed down slightly because he's approaching the end of his prime. He cuts the ring off. He makes you fight in a much smaller space than people are used to. On the other side of the octagon, Yair Rodríguez, he's been around the UFC for years, but he's really a prospect that is just entering his prime. He's 2-1 his last 3 fights, but like I said, one was a little lucky. He won the fight in the last second, so he's a dynamic striker. I like him a lot. You don't see many fighters that have black belts in Taekwondo in the UFC. He's got a black belt there. He gives opponents really weird looks in the cage, similar to like Wonder Boy, really. That's his strength. He's got 4 submission wins on the ground. It's a 5-round main event, and considering the ways that these guys throw their hands, I find it unlikely that the fight goes the distance. I think both the guys are dynamic enough strikers to fight most of this fight on their feet. I don't like a side in the fight, but either of them can hit the button at any time. The only angle that's worth betting in this fight probably is that the fight does not go the distance. It's a little more expensive than what we normally play on this show. But at 1.47, considering who's fighting and considering the amount of rounds, I think that there's still value in it. So I took them. Fight does not go the distance at 1.47.
Dave, 1.47. If it's a winner, it's value.
Yeah. To be honest, I have the same bet in a parlay for this week because I cannot see this fight going 25 minutes. Both these guys are going to be out to kill from the get-go. Picking a side, on the other hand, is probably one of the toughest toughest side you're gonna have to pick on the entire card. I can't pick. I can't pick a side. I'm sorry. We have Jeremy Stevens. The guy has, I'm pretty sure he has 18 wins by knockout. And his opponent, Yair, only has 2 losses, but guess how he lost both them fights? They were by knockout. So, yeah, it's a risky one. We could mention the elevation in Mexico as well. Fighting in Mexico is a tough place. Jeremy Stevens, as far as I believe, has been out there for 2 months already, acclimatizing himself. So he'll be ready for Yair in Mexico. I worry for both fighters. They both have the chance of getting dropped at any point of this fight. So, as Jay said, I feel like picking a prop this week, and that prop being the fight not to go the distance, will be your best chance of getting some comfortable money, I'd say, without worrying every 10 seconds when these guys are throwing down, because that's what's going to happen. Okay, it's going to be a wild one.
Okay, Dave, no problem at all. We got 1.47. The fight does not go the distance. Let's move on. Alex Grasso and Carla Esparza. Jace, take me away again.
I'm really looking forward to this fight. We all know what Carla Esparza is. She's a really solid veteran strawweight. She's seen it all. She's done it all. From fighting prospects to fighting the top 5, she's always been a really game opponent. Now she's a gatekeeper that she's approaching the end of her prime, but she's still dangerous. She was a 2-time All-American wrestler in college. That's by far her best attribute. However, she's not a good striker at all. She's gotten better, but overall, she is slightly subpar. She is really small. She has a strength disadvantage in almost every fight. And her opponent on Saturday is a prospect that I love. Alexa Grasco's striking is legit. I saw her improving each fight the last couple of years, but I think she took the next step in her striking evolution in her last fight with Karolina Kowalkiewicz. I was really impressed, and that was against a way better striker than Carla Esparza is. Her combinations are excellent. She cuts angles in a way where she avoids damage on the counters and the comeback. A general rule for people watching this show right now, when you are trying to decide which fighter to be on, if it's close, you take the wrestler because it's advantageous in a path to victory. But I can't do that in this fight. I think Alexa Grasso has a big enough advantage on the feet that if she's able to sprawl and not get taken down, she wins this fight clear. So for that reason, I think she gets it done. I took her at 1.74.
1.74. No, this is not your fight, Dave, but you are the depth of knowledge on this show. No disrespect to Jace. Obviously, he's working hard to try and catch up with you. 1.74. Alex Grasso, you can have a bit of that?
Yeah, do you know, when I first looked at this fight, just off of fandom, I was like, oh, I love Carla. You know, she was the first strawweight champion. She's faced everyone. One thing I'll give Carla coming into this fight, I don't think she's going to be scared. I don't think she's going to be worried. There'll be no nerves, none of that. It's a wrestler versus striker matchup. And like Jay said, I'll roll straight off of what he said. I just don't think this is the wrestler that's going to beat the striker this time round. 9 times out of 10, I'll be picking the wrestler because it's the solid base for any MMA fighter, and wrestling wins championships. So, yeah, most of the time I love the wrestlers, but in this spot, I feel like the wrestling's not going to last for long. I do think Carla could win a round. I'd give Carla maybe the first round. But Alexa will adapt. I think she'll be able to sprawl them takedowns. She's shown that she can defend takedowns well. When I was looking at the statistics, I'm pretty sure her takedown defense was quite high. So I have no trouble in thinking that Alexa can piece Carla up for the remaining 10 minutes after the first round. I see success for Carla in the first and Alexa stealing the final 2 rounds.
Okay, let's move on. Polo Reyes and Kyle Nelson, Dave. I've seen the article. Fill us in.
Yeah, this is a real tough one for Kyle Nelson. Fighting at elevation, the guy didn't seem to have a good gas tank anyway in his first two UFC fights. It's hard to come into the UFC anyway, but to have a skid and have back-to-back losses, it's a tough one. Both guys are fighting for their job here. The odds swayed in favor of Kyle Nelson. I was slightly confused. I understand Reyes, he's got a questionable chin, and he is certainly a risky guy to bet on. But as you know, we do this every week. I sniff these underdogs out, and before the upsets that Reyes had in the UFC, he was doing well, and he's a brawler. He's going to want to probably get inside the pocket and swing. I think Kyle Nelson, I don't think he has the fight IQ to even to realize that that's going to be going on. He'll get himself involved, and I feel like this fight is going to be another one. It's not going to see the judges' scorecards. Thinking about it, when I think about it, it's quite absurd how they make these fighters fight in Mexico. Everybody should have their training camp in Mexico. They will not be able to breathe. They'll be gasping for air. If you're not acclimatized to that weather, then it's going to be rough for anyone, including the Mexican fighters who don't fight at home. Reyes, all his fights just they don't go the distance. They just don't. We don't see the judges' scorecards. I think he's going to be on the lucky end of it this time. Bounce back from Reyes. He's got the advantage in all the striking statistics. I do believe Nelson is the better grappler, but I think Marco will shrug that off. I wouldn't even be surprised if this ends in the first round. The first dog for this week will be Marco Polo Reyes, and I've got him. The odds weren't that great. Plus 105, 2.05 on the decimal. Best line at Betway if you're in Europe right now. I do expect that I see this fight being a pick-on by fight night, because I don't understand why anybody would be putting their money on Kyle Nelson, who has had 2 UFC fights and lost them both. Whereas Reyes, he's already tested himself in the UFC, and he's beat guys of this caliber. So yeah, I'm on half a unit Polo Reyes for the first dog this week, Flash.
Okay, well, I won't get a response from you, Jace. You just sit yourself back. Ariana Carnelossi and Angela Hill, Dave. Another one of yours.
Yes, Carnelossi making her debut. She's obviously gonna fly under the radar. Look, when you watch her fight tape, it's easy to say, "Oh, the girl's reckless," and she goes into the pocket and just throws everything that she has. But I believe that's what's going to beat a fighter like Angela Hill. Angela Hill is a point fighter. She will like to stay on the outside and throw. Just, it's hard to not disrespect fighters sometimes, but she's just going to throw. She doesn't throw much. She doesn't flow much. She's never finished a fight in the UFC by a knockout. She just doesn't finish girls. And Carnelossi is an animal. Fair enough, she's only fought on the regional scene, but she is knocking these girls out. And she lost her first fight. Since her first professional fight, she lost that, and she has won every single fight since, and she has knocked out majority of them girls. Who does that remind you of? It reminds you of our good friend Wiley Zhang, who won the championship a couple of weeks ago. I see something in this girl. She has that killer instinct. I just think she can come into this fight and steam through Angela Hill and knock her out. I don't really like putting my money behind girls that are untested in the UFC, but Angela Hill is declining so bad that I don't know anybody putting their money on Angela Hill against debutants, veterans, against anybody. She's lost the spark that she had. She's lost the speed. Carnelossi is on a 12-fight win streak. Momentum's in her favor. Angela is a decision fighter, and she's going to be looking for that decision while she's got an animal in front of her trying to attack her. That is what is going to happen in this fight, and I don't think it's going to fare well for Angela to just try and avoid that. She's going to get knocked out, Flash, I think. another half unit. Look, this week was so tough. I was looking for a juicy underdog this week, you know, a nice plus 200 or something like that.
Agreed.
The closest I came was speaking to Jay about Betch Kohea, because her line seems to be slightly off considering her opposition. But I couldn't put my money behind a declining aging fighter whilst Angela Hill was there. It's a fade Angela Hill day for me. And plus 120, 220 on the decimal at William Hill, you can get Ariana Carnelossi versus Angela Hill.
Jace, you like Carnelossi as well?
Yeah, from all the tape that I could find on her, her stand-up game is strong. She's got a lot more power than Angela Hill. Her combinations are better than Hill. She's at the very least as accurate as Hill. My only issue with her, and what I think could be a problem for her against Angela Hill, is her movement in the cage. She is very flat-footed in the cage. Her striking is great, but I think Angela Hill bounces around the octagon like a gazelle. But like Dave said, she just bounces around. She doesn't throw a lot of volume. She hardly throws punches at all. But sometimes judges are weird, man. Sometimes they'll see a fighter bouncing around and pot-shotting, and fighters steal rounds that way. I think that's the only way that Carnelossi could lose the fight, because she's better than her everywhere. She's just a little flat-footed, and it concerns me against somebody that bounces around as much as Angela Hill does. But yeah, I think Dave's dead on.
Yeah,
I forgot to mention damage as well, guys. I forgot Angela has been in a lot of decision-ending fights, and that's a lot of minutes. I mentioned it in my article. I can't remember, but it was something like she's fought for 3.5 hours.
Wow.
That's a lot of punches she's taken to her head, and she's fighting a girl that has serious knockout power. I think it's a good spot to fade Angela Hill. I don't think Carnelossi is a future champion or a I don't, none of that, but I just think she's good enough to beat an aging Angela Hill.
Okay, greedy dogs with odds. Carnelossi and the knockout, Dave?
Oh, I don't know what the price is, but if you're a risk taker, that's...
Yeah, I weren't trying to stitch you up. I'm just trying to get an opinion for somebody else that one likes Carnelossi and they want to put a bit more value on. Listen, plus 120 is great odds.
Yeah, if you're a risk taker, no, actually, do you know what? If I think about it, if this fight goes the distance, there's a good chance Angela Hill might point this one out. So I think it's Carnelossi knockout or nothing.
Well, that's the way I was going.
Carnelossi knockout does. Yeah. I wouldn't mind a little stab at that. Nothing large, nothing stupid, because betting props is hard. And long term, if you're betting props every week, throwing pops out, you will not have a positive record. I can guarantee you that. But every now and then, when you got that gut feeling, you see that killer instinct. Yeah, I wouldn't say no to a stab at that, Flash.
Yeah, I was just digesting all the information that you boys were giving me. Okay then, Dave. Askarov, Brandon Moreno. Who wins?
Askar is... I found this guy and I was so impressed by the small amount of tape that I had to work with this guy, and the lack of information that I had. The guy's incredible. I think it was last week I said there's a lot of talented Russian UFC fighters and mixed martial artists, but none of them can quite compare to Khabib. When I watch Askar on the floor, I feel like he is better than Khabib. He's lighter, he's a flyweight. So obviously it's faster on the floor than Khabib. It's a different game when you're at a lower weight on the floor. There's a lot of scrambling, there's a lot of transitions, because these guys are smaller, they're lighter, they're more flexible. But Askar on the ground, Jesus, if anybody is interested enough and has a spare couple of minutes, go and search him on YouTube and watch his previous, I think you can grab his previous 4 fights or 3 fights. And don't think that he's fighting tin cans. He was on the regional scene in Russia, but these guys are not bums. The cumulative record for the guys that he's beat is something like 95-20. So you know these guys that he's beating are tough guys with strong records, and our boy Askar is running through them. He relinquished his title for what are they called, ACB, which is a Russian like organization for MMA, Absolute Championship Berkut it stands for, and that's where he's had all of his fights and dominated the majority of them, other than his most recent ones where he was gave some serious competition. This guy is going to make his debut this weekend, and unless you were told or unless you found out from somewhere else, you would not have a clue that this guy was making his debut. I'm telling you now, you're going to watch this guy. I think last year he was called up by the Russian wrestling national team to fight in the Asian Games. And I think it's a bit of a taboo to be having a guy from Dagestan on the Russian national team or something like that. There's something or other anyway, but he was called up anyway because of how talented he was. He went on to this Russian Games and he dominated and took away the gold medal. Whilst being the champion of this organization in Russia, he's casually just gone and picked up a gold medal. The UFC have finally signed him. I think hardcore MMA fans have been waiting for this debut because Askarov is a serious dude. He's only had 10 professional fights, so I don't want to get carried away because it is only 10 fights. But damn, his style is elite. His wrestling is elite, and from the lack of striking footage that I've seen on him, every piece of striking footage I've seen, the guy has either dropped or like just curdled away. So I can see the power in this guy's hands. Even though he's a flyweight, I can see that this guy has power. And when he's got him on the floor, it's the power in his legs whilst he's holding these guys on the floor. There's no unlocking that leg, and it's so Khabib-esque. It's just like watching Khabib when he locks these guys up with his legs on the floor, and they just can't move. They can't move.
Well, and his nickname
I think
is
he's gonna dominate Flash. Look, a lot of people are backing the other side this week, Brandon Moreno. I can't see it myself. I think this guy is a future champion. I think they could put him in the top 5 now, and you would not notice that he has just came from a regional Russian promotion.
Yeah, I mean, Dave, he's 10-0. He's 10-0. He's so lightweight, and yet they still has the name Bullet. I mean, they've given it to him for a reason, You normally have the Bullet being one of the bigger guys, and yet he already's commanding that. Listen, good luck to him. Thanks for everything then, boys. Let's hope we have another great weekend. You're educating me as we go. I'm enjoying the education. Jace, educate me on NFL on Friday lunchtime. I look forward to that.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Keep up the great work, you two pros.
Thank you, sir. Oh, one new article begins as well. Octagon Synergia, and that's who our boy Askar will be on this week. It's basically just going to highlight one fighter each week from the card who I think has a great chance of winning, and I'll be placing 2 units on that fighter as well each week. So I guess you could call it a banker. I don't really like to use that word in martial arts. That's for football, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But, similar sort of thing. Lock, play of the week, whatever you want to call it. That's what Octagon Synergia will be. It should be out tonight or tomorrow. I'm not sure. But, yeah, Punch and Parlay is still to come as well. So everyone stay tuned. Jay, is your co-main and main event article both out?
The co-main article's out, and the main event article will be out later today.
There we go, guys. We'll have 5 articles this week, so stay locked on the Odds Market website.
You two make my job easy. Keep bouncing off each other. I'm so pleased that you're on the other end of the screen. Go well, gents. And Jace, I'll see you Friday.
Thanks, Flash.
Take care.
Thank you, Flash.
Nice one, boys. That's Jace and Dave talking UFC 159. Mexico City this weekend. Tomorrow, Premier League Punters returns. Natalie will be in the chair. Big show, big host. And then I'll be back with Big Man and the lower leagues later on in the day. Until then, take care.